Hi everyone, this is Dabney. I'm here to talk about depression and psilocybin, using psilocybin therapy towards the treatment and healing of depression, which is an incredible, wonderful, promising hope. Psilocybin has been shown in many studies to really and deeply help with depression. And depression is something that affects a lot of people. I'm sure almost everyone knows someone with depression or has been touched by it, or other mood disorders, anxiety, OCD. It's something that it happens all the time and is increasing more and more and more all the time, unfortunately. So the neurology of depression basically is mostly focused on the monoamine theory, when that the main three neurotransmitters associated with depression, dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine, are in some levels deficient and not working together, and different symptoms kind of result from the different levels of deficiencies or poor uptake or reuptake. And the current model of depression is using pharmacology, using different drugs to heal and treat people. So the three areas of the brain that are mostly associated with depression are the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and the hippocampus. Stress often comes along with depression, is the main cause of depression, and it causes shrinking of the prefrontal cortex, shrinking of the hippocampus, and enlarges the amygdala. The amygdala, as a result of the excess cortisol, is enlarged. It's associated with the regulation of fear and anxiety and pleasure. And an abnormally high activity in the amygdala is related to depression and rumination, negative thinking, being stuck in heavy patterns of depression. So yeah, the hippocampus has to do with memory, and the amygdala also has to do with memory, decision making. We can see the results of stress. Different neurons are affected in different ways, but when stress comes in and causes problems like mood disorders, anxiety, depression, things like hypervigilance, when the amygdala is overreactive, hyperarousal, diminished interest in social avoidance, so all sorts of negative effects that come as a result from depression. So here we go with the magic mushrooms. Magic mushrooms have shown to increase optimism, increase positive results in people's lives, reduce negative mood. It's been shown to reduce the amygdala, shrink the amygdala response. And a lot of recent studies have shown that psilocybin therapy can bring long and enduring and sustain antidepressant effects for a lot of people with major depressive disorder. The psilocybin cubensis mushroom is from the genus of mushroom called psilocybe. It's found all over the world on pretty much every continent, and many ancient traditional people have used this medicine for healing ceremonies. The Mazatec and Aztec and Mayan people in Mexico have been using this medicine for thousands and thousands of years. The word in Aztec for mushroom is Teona Natcat, which means flesh of the gods. They considered it an entheogen, something they took to connect them with God. And yeah, all over the world, the ancient Greek Eleusinian mysteries are associated with psilocybin. So there's a lot of strong medicine all over the world usage of this medicine. And also, I would just like to honor the Native people that protected this medicine and kept it alive, because it had to go underground for many years and stay out of the way of people that would wish it to be gone. So I'm glad that they were able to keep this alive. And here's Maria Sabina, who is one of the first indigenous people. She's a Mazatec woman from Oaxaca, and there was a visit to her. She was one of the first people to allow white people to come and participate in a healing ceremony. And then that's the way that the medicine came back to America. And yeah, the rest is history. So here's a map all over the world, every continent, all over. People are known for using these medicines: Siberia, Australia, South America. And recently, psilocybin has been granted breakthrough therapy designation, which is pretty incredible. It kind of fast tracks it along the Food and Drug Administration regulations to allow for a quicker process for it to be legalized. And the more research that comes out supports more and more, ability for this medicine to be available sooner for people to start using it. Here's just a little list of some businesses and companies and schools doing some work. And here's a basic understanding of how psilocybin works. You eat the mushroom that contains the psilocybin, which is called the prodrug, and then it turns into psilocybin, then it fits into our serotonin receptors, certain type of serotonin receptors, the 5-HT2A, and it's an agonist. And an agonist is a chemical that binds to the receptor, activates the receptor to produce a certain response, which in this case is more in different ways of serotonin flowing. Here's a picture of the serotonin 2A synapse and filling in the proper places and all the amazingness. Serotonin is associated with, happiness and well-being. It's a very common one that's been connected with, low levels of serotonin equaling low levels of mood. So this is just showing kind of the top part is, SSRIs, which is a common drug used to treat depression. And a common side effect that people say is emotional blunting goes up when they use antidepressant drugs, which is like lack of feeling and emotion, lack of empathy. People say they feel blah. They don't feel like they can feel their emotions as much. They don't feel as connected to people and not the same enjoyment of life that they normally have. Whereas when people are working with psilocybin for depression, they tend to be more sensitive to their environment, have more levels of emotional release, more open processing, more openness and awareness. So it's a whole different model. Here's a little video that shows part of the brain called the default mode network, which is a very important area, a network of interconnecting brain structures. And it's active when you're not focusing on the outside world. It's connected with introspection and self-reflective properties. And it's an area of the brain that receives more blood flow and consumes more energy than any other part of the brain. It's not fully yet understood more about it, but here's a little video of some serotonin neuroptic happening. And then there's going to be the way that psilocybin or LSD, a different psychedelic, can kind of bring in more levels of the serotonin. So yeah, there it goes. Yay. So another positive thing that studies have shown is increase in functional connectivity throughout the brain and increase in cerebral blood flow, both qualities that help shrink the amygdala. And this has been proven with fMRI studies that show all sorts of amazing results in downregulation of the DMN, which is linked to low depression and lowering depression. So it's a good promise for the future of treatment of depression. And neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to form new neural pathways and connections. And neurogenesis is the ability of the brain to actually grow more neurons. And psilocybin and all the other classical psychedelics as well have been proven to dramatically increase the density of dendritic spines on the cortical neurons. And also they have increased dendritic arbor complexity. And atrophy of the dendritic spines and loss of those spines is something that is common in depression. So the ability of the psychedelics and psilocybin to increase neurogenesis and neuroplasticity is an incredible way that it can help depression. So here's a video that shows what your brain does on psilocybin. So it's pretty beautiful. It shows a really profound shift in brain connectivity, different parts of the brain talking together that normally don't talk, different ways of thinking, different pathways. It shows how in this state of mind, it's a more fluid and open state of mind, and it shows just great promise for therapists and patients to be able to work together to, you know, break down rigid thinking styles and dissolve fixed networks and just open for more and more possibilities, more and more different connections, more ways of thinking, less rumination, less ruminative thinking, less anxiety. So California Institute of Integral Studies has its Center for Psychedelic Therapy and Research. It's an incredible place to be, and it's an incredible time to be part of this breakthrough level of treatment of depression, because so many people are suffering from it, and there's phenomenal amount of research. There's a therapy study that was just done in November of this year, 2020, that showed that psychedelic therapy with psilocybin was 2.5 times greater than just traditional therapy and more than 4 times greater than antidepressant, long-lasting effects. There have been many studies that have shown up to 6 months after psilocybin therapy, people have had even, like in some cases, almost 50% of the patients full remission of depression. So yeah, it's an exciting time, and thank you and have a good day.